true now. Yeah. I'm here to speak and make it clear. I'm sorry, y'all, for all I've done, but I'm not the only one. In a dark place, I told some lies, but I'm not the only one. We all got secrets under the sun. In the shadows, we played the game. Now I'm standing here taking the blame. A lot of y'all was at the freak off too, so don't put it all on me. That's just the truth. I've been up and down this road trying to find my peace. Confessions of a man without a release. Oh, now, hey. In the mirror, I saw the truth hiding in plain view. I'm coming clean now, this burden to undo. We were all there dancing shadows in the night, acting wrong when we knew what was right. But deep inside, there's more you must see. In this room of mirrors, it's not just me. I walk this path with heavy chains, trying to shed those sins, erase the stains. I've seen the highs and the pushing low, fading in the spotlight. That's how it goes. Now I'm standing here, hard on my sleeve, trying to clear the air, let the demons relieve. Every wrong turn and every mistake led me to this moment to let my soul quake. Plays a part in the shadows deep, lost in the game. It's promises to keep.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your daily vitamins. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Okay. Also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Dr._A_Shakur, and also on Twitter at DGoddess27. And as per usual, if you don't like what the Queen is cooking, you already know what to do. Okay, so more information on Diddy, and I have so much information on Diddy. I'm not even going to go through all of it today. I'll do the rest in the morning. Okay, but I have some legal docs. Diddy's out here wilding out. He's subpoenaed Warner Brothers, okay, for information that he wants to use to possibly, in my opinion, discredit witnesses. Okay, so we're going to get into that, but also we got to talk about Trump and Elon. But in other Diddy news, Rodney Jones' attorney, Tyrone Blackburn, has not been able to serve Cuba Gooding Jr. Okay, is he on the run? Where is he? Okay, let's not forget that they can't find Aaron Hall to serve him either. I find it all so nefarious. All right, so we're going to talk about that. And also the John Doe is going to have to go forward with his name. Before we get into the nefariousness of it all, let's have a brief word from our sponsor at 12 Tribes.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Okay, so with that all been said, you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Look for Lisa Crafts, and you can also find it at Walmart.com. Okay, now let's get into it. All right. Hello, Anita Harrell, OG Patrice, Sheila is here, Desmond, We the People, Nessie X. All right. Desmond, didn't I tell you to take the rest of the evening off and get you some rest? Okay, y'all, my moderator, Desmond, he's the chief moderator, and he's always doing too much. He works 2 jobs. Okay. Now he has to be in his second job in a couple of hours. And I literally told him to take a nap. You don't have to be in this chat, Desmond. But, I guess that's why he's the chief moderator. But anyway, Deronda is here, most hated bronze flat power god. All right, G from the land, we the people. All right, Ma'at Egypt, there you go. All right, so let's get into it. All right, I love you too, Desmond. All hell no is in the house. Nicole is here. All right, we have Nicole CP is and Nicole Anderson. All right, so let's get into it. Now, like I told you all, honey, it is so much going on with Diddy. I can barely keep track. All right. Now, first of all, hold on. Let's talk about the fact that they can't seem to be able to serve Cuba Gooding Jr. Okay. According to this document by Tyrone Blackburn, dated 4/8/2025, that's today, it says notice of motion. Hold on. Let me see if I can enlarge this just a little bit. Okay, it says notice of motion for leave to serve by publication. So, honey, let me tell you something. Cuba Gooding Jr. is hiding out so fast and so good that they can't find him to serve him. So now they're going to have to serve him through through a magazine or through a publication. All right. This is what Tyrone Blackburn is requesting. Please take notice that upon the, hold on, let me put on my spectacles, honey, because y'all, this is some small print here. Okay, it says, please take notice that upon the accompanying memorandum of law, the declaration of Tyrone A. Blackburn, Esquire, and exhibits attached thereto, plaintiff Rodney Jones will move this court before the Honorable J. Paul Otkin, okay, at the United States Courthouse, and then they give the address, on a date and time to be determined for an order. Number 1, authorizing service of the summons and second amended complaint on defendants Cuba Gooding Jr. and Justin Dior Combs by publication in the New York Times and Los Angeles Times once per week for 4 consecutive weeks. And second, granting such further relief as the court deems just and proper. So where's Justin? They can't find him either. Don't y'all find this also interesting? Don't y'all find this also, honey, they can run, but they can't hide. Okay, and then now let's talk about this John Doe. Okay, plaintiff John Doe, who sues defendant Sean Combs, a rapper and record producer, better known by his stage name as P. Diddy, for sexual assault, moves for leave to proceed under a pseudonym. Plaintiff's case is one of many such cases filed against Combs and related defendants in this district. Now, I'm going to read through this quick because I got more documents to go, and I'm going to put those on the screen. Okay, but anyway, most, if not all, of the other plaintiffs have also sought leave to proceed pseudonymously. Okay, to date, every judge to consider such a request has rejected. All right, and so they have a bunch of statutes and, cases referencing and all of that. This court does too, substantially for the reasons explained in the foregoing opinions. In brief, Rule 10A of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure requires that all parties be named in the title of the complaint. And now, so basically, I don't even have to go through all of this. Basically, what they're saying is he's going to have to tell who he is. All right. Plaintiff's motion for leave to proceed pseudonymously is therefore denied. Plaintiff shall refile the complaint in his own name by April the 22nd of 2025, or this case will be dismissed. It is so ordered, dated April the 8th of 2025. Jesse M. Furman, United States District Judge. Okay, so there you have that. Now, with that all being said, these people that are wanting to remain anonymous are, unfortunately for them, going to come out. They're going to have to come out and tell who they are or face having their case dismissed. Okay, so now let's get into this thing with Warner Brothers, because let me tell y'all something. I found this very interesting. I'm going to share my screen so you all can see this. Diddy is out here making demands, honey. Please pay attention. Okay. Diddy is out here making demands. He's demanding that they turn over evidence. And some of the evidence that he wants is things such as diaries, journal entries from the people who spoke in that documentary, The Downfall of Diddy. Now, remember, Diddy is suing them for defamation. But this isn't the reason Diddy wants that information, not because of the defamation lawsuit, but because he wants to know, or he thinks that possibly these people might have something to do with the criminal case, because they haven't said who victims 2, 3, and 4 are as of yet. Now, of course, Diddy will know who they are pretty soon, but Diddy's just trying to figure out if these people are going to testify against him in the criminal trial. Okay. And if so, he wants to know what they're going to say. And he also wants to try to find some lies or something that they said that wasn't accurate that he can prove to destroy their credibility. Okay. I'm telling y'all, that's what it is. Diddy thinks he is so slick, honey. But let's get into it, because Diddy, you ain't going nowhere. Isn't that what he said? Now that I think about it, isn't that his own words in one of his songs? We ain't going nowhere. You're right, Diddy, you're not. Okay. So let's get into it. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Hold on, give me just a second. I need to clean these off real quick. Diddy isn't going anywhere, sitting up here making demands. I mean, it's the nerve of him for me. Okay, and then he wants people's diary entries and all of that. First of all, I wonder what makes him think that they wrote anything in their diaries. I just have several questions. All right, so now let's get into it. Okay. Non-party Warner Brothers Discovery, Inc. respectfully submits this memorandum of law in support of its motion pursuant to Rule 17C2 of the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure to quash the subpoena. Okay, so they don't want to have to give Diddy anything. The subpoena, a copy of which is attached to the accompanying declaration by Thomas B. Sullivan. Now, that's a whole nother document. I have that also. And there's another document I have. It's like almost 40 pages, and I'm not going to get into that one today. That's what I'm saying. I haven't even read through all of it yet, but I'll talk about that one tomorrow morning. Okay, so now it goes on to say, as Exhibit A seeks material relating to the documentary series, The Fall of Diddy. And I need y'all to put in the chat, hashtag, you heard it here first. Thank you kindly. All right, so that all being said, The Fall of Diddy, which was recently aired by WBD subsidiary, Mr. Combs seeks outtakes from interviews with 2 persons featured in the docuseries. And who are these 2 people? Well, one of them, I believe, was his chef, and the other was a former romantic partner. Okay, so the subpoena should be quashed on 2 separate and independent grounds. First, the subpoena, even as modified through the parties' meet and confer discussions, exceeds the limited scope of Rule 17, amounting to the kind of general fishing expedition that the rules of federal criminal procedure forbid. Now, what does that mean? Because it's legalese. What are they talking about? General fishing. Well, basically, here's the thing. Diddy's asking for stuff, and he's not being very specific. And in fact, he's being very broad. Okay? He's being very broad. So they're like, what do you exactly want? We're not going to give you everything that we have. Okay. What exactly is it that you want, Mr. Sir? All right. So it's basically like, he's just saying that he wants what they have, but they're not going to give him all of it. They want him to be very specific. Now, Mr. Combs has not met, this is what they say. Mr. Combs has not met and cannot meet his burden to overcome that privilege. WBD's motion to quash should be granted. Now, here's some background. Mr. Combs currently faces multiple charges related to sexual trafficking and other offenses. Now, earlier this year, the streaming service Max, which is owned and operated by WBD subsidiary or by a WDB subsidiary, began airing a documentary series titled The Fall of Diddy that examined the arc of Mr. Combs' career as well as some of the recent allegations against him. Okay, so, Diddy, if this is a former romantic partner, then Diddy likely knows whether or not this person kept a diary. I think that he must know that, because otherwise, why would he be asking for journal entries? Please pay attention. Now, it goes on to say, The documentary series was the product of extensive reporting and included on-camera interviews with, among others, individuals A and B. Individual A is Mr. Combs' former personal chef. She is featured in the docuseries speaking about how Mr. Combs treated her when she was employed with him, as well as about various rumors that she heard about his behavior during her time in his orbit. Now, here's the thing. I misspoke. Okay, because Diddy knows who these people are, but what he doesn't know is if they're going to testify in his criminal trial. Okay, because this whole thing with the documentary is a civil case. He sued them for defamation, but he's probably thinking that if they are going to testify against him in the criminal trial, he definitely wants to discredit them beforehand. Now, individual B is a former romantic partner of Mr. Combs. She's featured in the docuseries discussing the origins and path of her relationship with him, including one alleged incident of sexual assault. Now, as served, Mr. Combs' subpoena sought 3 categories of documents. Request number 1, all recordings of interviews with individual A or B created in connection with the documentary series, including all unaired outtakes. So even parts that were not even included in the documentary. He wants it all. Request number 2, all diary entries, journals, narratives, or notes provided by either individual A or individual B in connection with the documentary series. Okay, now, in the footnote, it says, at the court's request, WBD would be happy to provide a complete copy of the docuseries along with time codes identifying the relevant interviews. Individual A and individual B are identified in the unredacted copy of the subpoena, which WBD will separately provide to the court. Okay, now, in request number 3, records for any financial payments made to either individual A or individual B in connection with the documentary series. Now, they say the subpoena was served on March the 24th of 2024. Now, mind you, this is likely a typo. March the 24th of 2024, we're in 2025, and that docuseries, The Downfall of Diddy, let me see when that came out. Hold on, beloveds. Because it wasn't a year ago. Okay, it came out January. The release date was January 27th of 2025. Okay, so then we know that this is obviously a typo. This was served, the subpoena was served March the 24th of 2025. Okay, so they didn't probably just overlook that. Okay, so anyway, with a return date of the next day. Now, counsel for Mr. Combs subsequently extended the return date to April the 8th, that's today, of 2025, as part of the parties' efforts to resolve or narrow their disputes regarding the subpoena. Okay, so during those discussions, Mr. Combs agreed to drop the second and third request in the subpoena, and WBD agreed to produce a copy of the as aired documentary. Now, at present, the only remaining area of dispute is Mr. Combs' request for the interview outtakes. WBD now moves to quash the subpoena. Even as limited, the subpoena's open-ended request for interview outtakes exceeds the limited scope of Rule 17C, and the unpublished news gathering material that it seeks is protected from disclosure by the reporter's privilege, which cannot be overcome under the circumstances of this case. All right, so with that all being said, they're like, no, this is going against the rules. We don't have to give this to Diddy. And here's the thing. First of all, him asking for the diary and journal entries, you know they don't want to give him that. If they have it, those are people's private and personal things. And the bottom line is, you know, that'll be up for the judge to decide, because at the end of the day, if this was already in the prosecution's hands, then they could get it. Okay, if the prosecution had this information already, then Diddy's team will be able to get it through discovery. Okay, and also it will fall under Brady material, but they don't have it. All right, so Diddy may not be able to get this. So the subpoena should be quashed because it exceeds the limited scope of Rule 17C. The purpose of Rule 17C is to facilitate the trial by designating a time and place prior to trial to obtain and inspect evidentiary material. It is well settled that a Rule 17C subpoena is not intended to provide a means of discovery for criminal cases, okay? Because Rule 17C falls under the rules of civil procedure, okay? Not criminal cases. So he said that, hey, Rule 17C, the subpoena is not intended to be provided as a means for criminal cases and may not be used for purposes of conducting a general fishing expedition. Okay, now thus courts must be careful that Rule 17C is not turned into a broad discovery device, thereby undercutting the strict limitation of discovery in criminal cases found in federal crime, whatever this is, and they give a case, United States versus Cherry. Okay, they give a couple of cases that this was an issue in. Now, faced with a motion to quash Rule 17C subpoena, the parties seeking compliance must make a preponderance showing that the materials requested are relevant, specifically identified, admissible, and not otherwise procurable by the exercise of due diligence. And then they list another case. Now, Mr. Combs cannot make that showing here. They're like, Diddy, you haven't given us a good reason as to why you should be given this information. First of all, their first point is the subpoena does not identify the material sought with sufficient specificity. Okay, specificity, because he's not being specific. Like I said, it's very vague what he's asking for. Like, does he just think they're going to give him every single thing, journal entries, outtakes, footage, just notes that they took when they interviewed the people? He thinks they're going to give him all of that, or is there something specific that he really needs? And if so, he needs to talk about it. Okay, because they're definitely not wanting to give him everything. Okay, so anyway, to defeat the notion that the subpoena is designed to evade the discovery requirements of the federal rules of criminal procedure, the party who served the subpoena must be able to reasonably specify the information contained in or believed to be contained in the documents sought, rather than merely hope that something useful will turn up. So they're like this. Listen, buddy, you want this information from us. You expect us to go through all of this trouble, get all of this information and give to you so you can just have free reign and sift through all of it? You don't even know if there's anything in there that's going to be viable for you to use. You don't know if it's going to help your case or not. You're just hoping and wishing upon a star. And we shouldn't have to go through all of this hassle and divulge all of this information to you just for you to see that maybe there was even nothing there in the first place. But see, Diddy's desperate, okay? He's clearly desperate, okay? Please pay attention. And so anyway, they are saying that he doesn't know. He's just hoping something turns up. He's basically fishing. All right, so courts have consistently held that broad requests for interview outtakes without any specific reasons to believe the outtakes contain any relevant or non-cumulative statements are inconsistent with Rule 17. Now, with that being said, now they say broad hope that interview outtakes from documentary might unearth prior inconsistent statements by potential witnesses and exculpatory evidence was insufficient to meet requirement of Rule 17C. And then they list the case that had that same scenario. So basically, Diddy is, like I said, he's hoping that there's something in there. Just one little old thing is all he needs, at least. Okay, so he can prove that there's some evidence in there that could be exculpatory for him, or they had some inconsistent statements, which would mean that if they are going to testify in his criminal trial, then they could use that. His defense team could use that to say, hey, look, this is a liar. This is where they lied, or they had inconsistent statements when they were on this documentary. Here's the proof right here. Okay, and so then that would definitely make the jury look at them with the whole side eye during the trial and not know whether or not to believe anything else that they were saying about Diddy. So rejecting requests for interview outtakes and noting that requirements of Rule 17C are not satisfied merely because the defendant can articulate what they hope to find in the subpoenaed evidence. Okay, subpoena for recordings of jailhouse telephone conversations did not comply with Rule 17C, where defendant argued generally that recordings will contain some of the information that is relevant and useful for his defense without anything more specific than that. Now, this is a case that they were talking about, the United States v. Drocopoulos. Okay, and it was in January of 2003. Basically, they wanted jailhouse telephone conversations or whatnot. Okay, so they say the same, and that it, they didn't say specifically, they didn't know for a fact that there was anything in there that was going to help their case. And so they argue that the same applies here. Mr. Combs has not met his burden to demonstrate that the subpoena is anything but a prohibited fishing expedition. The second point they make is that the subpoena also fails the relevance and admissibility requirements of Rule 17C. Though the purpose of the subpoena is far from clear on its face, presumably Mr. Combs is seeking potential impeachment material against individual A or individual B, should either testify at trial. Okay, that's exactly what he's doing. He wants to discredit them. But Mr. Combs cannot know if the material is even potentially relevant because the government's witness list is not due until April the 14th. And therefore, he does not know if either individual A or individual B will testify at the trial. Honey, Diddy's trying to get ahead of the curve. Okay, he's trying to get ahead of the game. He's trying to stay one step ahead of them. Now, he's going to find out who is going to be speaking as a witness April the 14th. But he wants to know ahead of time because he wants to know, what are they going to be saying? What have they already said? Did they tell any lies? Please pay attention. So that list is not due until April the 14th, and therefore he does not know if either individual A or B will testify at the trial, nor does he know whether any of the material sought would actually impeach either witness. Okay, so with that all being said, now they reference another couple of cases. Okay, now in addition, recordings of interviews with individual A and individual B would be hearsay and therefore not directly admissible. Quashing the subpoena seeking telephone recordings. Okay, that's another case they're talking about. So, they're saying that it would be hearsay anyway, even if we did give it to them. This is just hearsay. Okay, so now let's go down to the subpoena should also be quashed because Mr. Combs cannot overcome WBD's reporter's privilege. Freedom of the press. Don't you love it? Okay, so the subpoena should also be quashed because the materials sought are protected from disclosure by the reporter's privilege, which Mr. Combs cannot overcome. Okay, now the Second Circuit has long recognized a qualified reporter's privilege, which applies in both civil and criminal proceedings, and to both non-confidential and confidential news gathering and source material. Diddy is really trying it, honey. I mean, he is so desperate at this point. Okay, he is absolutely doing the most. So with that all being said, I'm going to skip past some of this. Now, this applies especially here, where the only possible relevance of the interview outtakes to Mr. Combs' case is this speculative hope that they might contain some unpublished statements from either individual A or individual B that might be useful for impeachment. Let me tell you something. Diddy thinks he is so darn slick because what he's essentially saying is, maybe they said something behind the scenes when they were talking to these people during their interviews that didn't ring true. And so maybe it wasn't put in the documentary. Okay. So that's why he wants to see whatever they said that didn't make the cut. Okay. That's what that's all about, so that he can have them impeached. Now, in legal terms, impeachment refers to a formal accusation of misconduct or wrongdoing. Okay. So with that all being said, let's continue. Now, in the footnote, they say, although McCrary was a civil, not criminal case, the burden necessary to overcome the reporter's privilege is the same in civil and criminal cases. We now hold that in instances where a reporter is not protecting a confidential source or confidential materials, the showing required to overcome journalist privilege is the same in a criminal case as it is in a civil case, namely the showing required by Gonzalez, and that this is true whether the party seeking to overcome privilege is the prosecution or the defense. Well, in this case, it's clearly the defense. Okay, so with that all being said, I'm going to skip past some of this. Hold on. No, they say in conclusion, for the reasons set forth above, non-party WBD respectfully requests that the court quash the subpoena. Okay, Ducis Tecum served on it by Mr. Combs. I find it interesting. Okay, I find it interesting that Diddy had the audacity to send them a subpoena and demand it, honey. Okay, and Ducis Tecum, by the way, is Latin for bring to you. It basically refers to a type of subpoena that orders a person to appear in court and bring specific documents and records with them. Okay, so Diddy thinks he's running stuff now. Is that what we're doing, Diddler? Is that what we're doing? I find it all so nefarious. Okay. Now, with that all being said, let me just read you Diddy's subpoena. Let me pull that up. Likes up, everyone, please. Don't forget to like and share. Thank you in advance. Declaration of Thomas Sullivan in support of non-party Warner Brothers discovery motion to quash subpoena. Okay, hold on. Okay, so it says, I am a partner in the law firm of Ballard Spahr LLP, counsel non-party Warner Brothers Discovery Inc., WBD, in the above captioned action. I submit this declaration in support of WBD's motion to quash a subpoena served on by defendant Sean Combs. I have personal knowledge of the facts herein. Now, attached here too as Exhibit A is a true and correct copy of the subpoena served by counsel for Mr. Combs on WBD with the names of individuals A and B redacted. Pursuant to Local Criminal Rule 16.1, I certify that I, along with my colleague Paul Safier, met and conferred with Mr. Combs' counsel, Anna Estavo, on March the 24th of 2025. Okay, so now we have proved that that was just a typo because it has the right date in this. Okay, March 24th of 2025, not 2024. Just to clarify. And April the 2nd of 2025 by video conference in an effort in good faith to resolve by agreement the issues raised by the motion without the intervention of the court, but we have been unable to reach agreement as to all issues. Now, during the meet and confer, the parties were able to resolve issues related to 2 of the 3 topics in the subpoena, as Mr. Combs was able to obtain them from an alternate source. The remaining issue is the remaining issue is addressed in this motion. So, to allow the meet and confer discussions to occur, counsel for Mr. Combs agreed to extend the date for the subpoena to April the 8th of 2024. Attached here too as Exhibit B is a true and correct copy of email correspondence between counsel reflecting the parties' agreement to extend the response deadline. Attached here too as Exhibit C is a true and correct copy of United States versus Grant. Okay, that's a case that they reference. I declare under penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true and correct, executed on April the 8th of 2025, right by Thomas B. Sullivan. Now, Diddy's subpoena has a bunch of redactions because, of course, the people's names are included in there. And here's the thing. They refer to them in here as A and B, okay? And these filings, they're only referred to as individuals A and individuals B. So they could be 2 of the victims in Diddy's indictments. But that's what Diddy wants to find out. So anyway, with that all being said, here's what the subpoena says. Now listen to the wording of it. You are commanded. This is what it says, y'all. Diddy's demanding, honey. Okay, you are commanded to produce all recordings, including raw and unedited footage of interviews with blank, blank, and blank, created in connection with the documentary series, The Fall of Diddy. All diary entries, journals, narratives, or notes provided by blank, blank, and blank in connection with the documentary series, The Fall of Diddy. Records of any financial payments made to blank and blank in connection with the involvement in the documentary series, The Fall of Diddy. The documents shall be produced by email to the following address. Now, this was dated for March the 25th of 2025. So Diddy did this about 2 weeks ago. And it is signed by Tini Garagos. Honey, let me tell y'all something. Diddy said, not so fast. Diddy said, not so fast. Y'all think y'all gonna take me down without a fight, honey? I'm fighting tooth and nail. Do y'all hear him? Diddy said, y'all got demands. Well, I've got a few demands of my own. All right. They are working overtime, honey. And please pay attention, because the closer it gets to that trial, the more shenanigans. The more shenanigans we're going to start seeing, honey. These papers are being... Sarah just said, the nerve of Diddy, the devil. I know, right? Honey, he said he demands, okay? He wants to know what they said. He wants to know what they said. Now, mind you, this is Diddy's former chef and an ex-romantic partner. And now Diddy's got me interested, because I'm wondering too, are they two of the victims in Diddy's superseding indictment? Okay. Nicole said he elevated from demand to command. Okay. Oh, Diddy is something else. I will say that much. He is something else. Now, tomorrow, like I said, we're going to go over that other document, because it looks like it's kind of juicy. I haven't had a chance to go through all of it. But with that being said, let's talk about Trump. Let's talk about Trump and Elon. All right, let's talk about it, because, honey, they're broken up. They are broken up. It looks like, I don't know if it's all true, but that's what the word is on the streets. But see, I told you all, I said, now I wonder how long it's going to take before Trump gets sick of Elon overshadowing him and people calling him the president. Because Trump's a whole narcissist. But it looks like Elon may be the one. And the reason Elon is likely pissed is because of those tariffs. Okay, and Elon's taking a hit. This man has lost over $208 million. Was it? No, it was billions. $208 billion. I mean, they said that he lost more money than anybody in the world. Okay. Do y'all hear this? Elon. That's right. Eric said the honeymoon is over. Okay. Durana said a lover's spat. All right. So let's talk about it. I'm going to share my screen so you all can hear this, because I'm all for it. Elon, don't be mad now at your boo.
As the 77th day of the second Trump presidency comes to a close, we have arrived at a moment that we knew was coming. At some point, it had to come. We have arrived at the Musk versus Trump moment. The world has been wondering how long the bromance could last between the two most volatile and publicly irrational men in the world, Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the only president in history who hired multiple White House chiefs of staff sequentially, only to end up calling each of them an idiot before and after he fired them. Donald Trump's first Secretary of State called Donald Trump an effing moron. It was documented, well documented by Bob Woodward and others. Said that after Donald Trump.
Let me pause that for a second so I can correct myself. Elon didn't lose $208 billion. He actually lost, and I reported this a week or so ago, he actually lost nearly $135 billion. But that's still a whole lot. Okay, he lost that because he's worth like $300 billion, or at least he was. Elon Musk experienced a significant drop in his net worth, losing nearly $135 billion or 31% since the start of 2025, primarily due to a decline in Tesla's stock price. This has led to his net worth falling below $300 billion, a significant decrease from exceeding $400 billion just 3 months prior. Okay, so this is taking down his net worth. So 135 billion. The 208 billion is what those top billionaires lost that I reported to you on yesterday. Okay, so let's continue.
Trump left a meeting, and not long after that, Trump's first Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, was publicly being attacked by Donald Trump after Donald Trump fired him. The publicly much anticipated breakup of Donald Trump and Elon Musk seems to center on the question of when would Donald Trump turn on Elon Musk? That's what everyone was speculating about, because Donald Trump has turned on virtually everyone who's worked for him in the White House. But Elon Musk is the richest person in the world, and there is no one Donald Trump wants to keep in his life more.
Okay, now somebody said that's pennies to Elon. Let me tell you something, honey. $135 billion isn't pennies to anybody. Okay, I don't care how much money you have. If you lose $135 billion, yeah, you're going to be upset. Okay, that's not pennies to anybody. Okay, and here's the thing. Billionaires, specifically one that deems themselves or has been deemed the richest man in the world, well, he wants to stay that. He wants to keep that title. And he's not going to keep it if he continuously is losing billions of dollars by the hundreds. Okay, that's what he's lost thus far. There could be more lost down the line. So do you see his cause for concern? Honey, these are not pennies to him. Okay, please pay attention. All right, please pay attention.
Than the richest person in the world, which is why Donald Trump was willing to suffer the public humiliation of Elon Musk publicly taking over a discussion in the Oval Office about Elon Musk's governing policies that left the actual president of the United States having about the same amount to say as Elon Musk's 4-year-old son. We know Donald Trump doesn't ever want to turn against Elon Musk because he never wants to lose access to Elon Musk's money and the fear that that money creates, especially in the Republican Party. As long as Donald Trump has Elon Musk at his side, he can threaten any member of any Republican member of Congress with an Elon Musk financed campaign against that Republican in the next Republican primary election. And so it has always made more sense that when the break comes, it would be Elon Musk dumping Donald Trump. And now Elon Musk is indeed dumping on Donald Trump, calling Donald Trump's tariffs stupid. So far, Elon Musk is using surrogates to attack Donald Trump, while Elon Musk directly attacks Trump surrogates. Elon Musk showed no gratitude to Joe Biden, while Elon Musk's wealth skyrocketed every day of the Biden presidency. But he's already apparently distressed at losing more money under the Trump presidency than any other person in the world. Tonight, Elon Musk is the individual biggest dollar loser in the world as a result of Donald Trump's world war on economic sanity. And so Elon Musk began his attack on Donald Trump with an attack on Trump surrogate Peter Navarro, the only economic advisor to a president to have served federal prison time, and who is the author of the deranged Trump-Navarro tariffs. Elon Musk tweeted this about Peter Navarro: a PhD in econ from Harvard is a bad thing, not a good thing. Imagine what that means for Donald Trump, who only has a college degree from the University of Pennsylvania, which surely Elon Musk values even less than a PhD from Harvard. Peter Navarro shot back at Elon Musk, calling him a car guy and who just wants, quote, cheap foreign parts, which apparently is some new form of insult in Trump world that claims to be in the business of helping America's car guys, America's auto workers and car manufacturers. But because Donald Trump doesn't understand how his tariffs actually work, the stock market of every American car company is collapsing. Their stock is collapsing, including Elon Musk's car company stock, which collapsed even more today. After a morning of Trump-induced madness in the stock market today, a member of the board of directors of Tesla publicly attacked Donald Trump on Twitter. And you know that wouldn't happen without Elon Musk's approval, especially because that board member's name is Kimball Musk, Elon Musk's brother, and apparently Elon Musk's authorized surrogate at Tesla to publicly attack Donald Trump. Kimball Musk tweeted, "Who would have thought that Trump was actually the most high-tax American president in generations? Through his tariff strategy, Trump has implemented a structural, permanent tax on the American consumer. A tax on consumption also means less consumption, which means less jobs, which in turn leads to less consumption and even less jobs. That cycle of less consumption and less jobs is what we call a recession, which is what Wall Street is now predicting, with Wall Street analysts calling it the coming Trump recession." This weekend, during a video conference with Italy's right-wing League Party, Elon Musk revealed just how dramatically and completely he disagrees with Donald Trump in private, where he apparently claims to urge Donald Trump to drop all tariffs between Europe and North America.
I hope it is agreed that both Europe and the United States should move, ideally, in my view, Euro tariff situation, effectively creating a free trade zone between Europe and North America. That would be that's what I hope occurs. And also more freedom of people to move between Europe and North America, if they wish. If they wish to work in Europe or wish to work in America, they should be allowed to do so, in my view. So that has certainly been my advice to the president.
That has certainly been my advice to the president. All right, then. In other words, Elon Musk's advice to the president is your tariffs are completely wrong. Not that your tariffs are a little too high, but that the tariffs should be zero. That's what Elon Musk said he's telling Donald Trump. That is by far the most dramatic difference in opinion anyone on the Trump team has with Donald Trump. Elon Musk wants zero tariffs, and Donald Trump wants tariffs of more than 100%.
Is it Thursday? I mean, it feels like Thursday already, Eamon, but it's only a couple of hours into Monday. So I want to do a little tariff math, and I know we got Megan Casella waiting as well. So if I'm doing this correctly, okay, and maybe I'm not, we do a 50% additional tariff, punitive tariff on China. So if I layer that on to some of the tariffs that are kicking in, and I know we already have 100% tariffs on electric cars that was put in place by the former President Biden, but on all goods, that I think takes us above a 100% tariff, I think.
That's correct.
That was CNBC's never before frazzled Brian Sullivan, who did an heroic job of trying to keep up with one of the craziest days in Wall Street history today, including the false rumor.
Okay, I'm going to stop him right there. Okay, now Shauna says, this sounds like they're giving us a BS show. Doesn't pass the smell test. Well, you know, one could say that, but here's the thing. Elon absolutely is losing money. That's obvious. Look at all the people protesting against him and Trump. Do you know there were millions of people out there protesting for their hands off? Those people and many others, okay, they have stopped buying from Tesla. People have gotten rid of their Tesla stocks. Okay, it's going down. Elon is absolutely losing money. That's not a BS show. That's in real life. He is pissed. And who wouldn't be? But, you know, he brought this on himself, and I'm here for it, like I said. So he's definitely losing money. And that would be an incentive for him to be upset about these tariffs. Also, it would also be in his benefit, in my opinion. Maybe it's not going to help him now. It's probably too little too late, but to sever ties with Trump. Okay, and what's going on, because that's also why he has all of this drama and everybody protesting his Tesla, these Tesla dealerships being set on fire, bombs being found there. This is not a show, beloved. Those were real bombs that were found there. Those were real fires that were lit. There's people's cars being scratched and keyed and vandalized. Remember the video I showed with the Asian man and the Caucasian man with the car and being scratched or keyed or whatever, and the police showed up. There was a Karen that did the same thing. So, honey, this is all happening in real life, okay? This is all real life. And, like I said, I'm here for it because this is what Elon gets, okay? I don't feel sorry for him. And then also, here's another thing. If Elon is if he was previously worth $4 billion, then he lost $135 billion, right? Now he's down to about, what, $3 billion? Okay. All he has to do is have 2 more days where he loses another $100 billion. And that's his wealth. So trust me when I tell you that money is not pennies to him. Okay? That money is not pennies to him. This is serious business as far as he's concerned. And I am sure that he is livid. But hey, you can't talk Trump down off the ledge because Trump's going to do what he wants to do. Okay, so now meanwhile, back at the ranch, J.D. Vance has ticked off China by calling them peasants. So let's get into it.
And staying with the Trump administration, Vice President J.D. Vance is now walking through a political minefield of his own making. What was supposed to be a routine media appearance to sell President Trump's bold economic vision, the vice president, while speaking to Fox News, argued that the globalist economy pushed by former presidents was a failure that awarded elites and other nations. But when speaking on China, his comments triggered varied reactions on social media. Taking a dig at China and Chinese nationals, Vance allegedly referred to them as peasants.
I think it's useful for all of us to step back and ask ourselves, what has the globalist economy gotten the United States of America? We borrow money from Chinese peasants to buy the things those Chinese peasants manufacture.
Critics pointed out that the vice president's comment came off as demeaning and dehumanizing, particularly from a man who once wrote about his own poverty-stricken childhood in Hillbilly Elegy.
The shade of it all. Okay, y'all hearing this? They were basically like the nerve of him to call us peasants when he said that he used to be a whole hillbilly and lived a poor life, probably in a trailer park somewhere. Okay, I mean, it's the audacity of it for me. Do y'all hear this? This man called them peasants as if he wasn't once a peasant himself. I find it all so interesting. And here's the thing. Who is the he? I mean, the hillbilly shot was pure shade. Okay, I love it. But here's the thing. Who is J.D. Vance to liken China to peasants when this country, the United States of America, is going to be full of peasants in a minute if they don't get this economy back on track, okay? If they don't get something done real soon, we might be peasants. Please pay attention, honey. I find it all so nefarious. I mean, it's the nerve. Panther Strike says, yeah, Queen, a third of your fortune is nothing to ignore. Muskie is an unhappy camper. Oh, yes, he certainly is. Okay, he absolutely is. And I would be too, losing that much cash. Now, OG Patrice says, J.D. Vance needs to shut the F up before China hand us some and hand us something and we ain't ready. Okay, exactly. I mean, Trump's already got everybody turning against the United States and clearly has made us the laughingstock as far as I'm concerned. But let's continue.
Another social media user even pointed out that how does a vice president get away with calling Chinese people, quote unquote, peasants in 2025? And he also pointed to China's own transformation from rural hardship to high-speed railways, advanced electric vehicles, and futuristic cities. One commenter noted Chinese peasants are doing better than a lot of Americans right now, adding fuel to the debate about whether the vice president's remarks were rooted in reality or just old-fashioned American exceptionalism. Even Chinese commentators weighed in, noting that the Chinese have invested a lot in development and not in wars, and then pointed out that for decades, the American people have benefited from good and affordable Chinese products. But as the internet lit up, Vice President Vance did not back down. Instead, he pressed on the administration's broader message that the U.S. economy is undergoing a necessary, if painful, transformation.
We're not going to fix things overnight. For the first time in your lives, you're going to actually think about the Americans who make the products, the Americans who produce these products and work in these factories. It's time for us to take care of them instead of taking care of the world.
Now, whether the commander-in-chief and his vice president are in fact building political capital or burning bridges, one thing is certainly clear. J.D. Vance is not softening his stance anytime soon. And if this is just the beginning of his vice presidency, America may need to brace for many, many more blunt headlines.
Greeting you with aloha and namaste.
No, I love India.
Presence, occupation of a territory by another country pertains to India, what we saw in Kashmir.
How do you see Trump's America?
Yes, the current administration behaves differently from the previous administration.
Are you saying that there are foreign powers who are trying to bring down the current government in Syria?
Exactly.
Iran, maybe Russia.
Prime Minister Modi committed to South-South, cooperation.
Not over 50%.
Is Ukraine prepared to pay the price for that peace?
No compromises at the cost of territorial integrity and sovereignty.
Okay, so Trump got us out here looking bad in these streets. Okay, please pay attention, honey. But that isn't going to stop him, because Trump says that he's not looking to pause tariffs despite market turmoil and growing economic fears. Trump said, F all y'all, this is what it is until further notice. I'm running this ish, okay? Whoever doesn't like it, leave. That's literally what he's saying, I bet you. All right, so let's listen to it.
Yeah, first off, we've been playing these clips of President Trump, a lot of tough talk from him. Is he showing any signs of backing down?
Well, when it comes to China, Michael, certainly not. I think he's been pretty clear what he expects Beijing to do. But as you guys were just talking about, that seems to be backfiring, because China is standing firm in saying that if the U.S. follows through with additional tariffs, that they will counter as well, accusing the Trump administration of, quote, blackmail. As far as where he stands on other countries, remember, there are about more than 60 countries, actually, that face these reciprocal tariffs that go into effect at midnight. And the White House has sent mixed messages about whether he's really open for negotiation, whether these are permanent. So someone asked him directly, a reporter in the Oval Office yesterday, what is it? Which one is it? And he said, well, both things could be true. They could both be permanent, and there could be negotiations. And of course, Trump prides himself on being the deal maker in chief. And he framed this yesterday as sort of a once in a, historical lifetime, once in a history opportunity to completely reset the global order, to completely reset where America stands on trade. And it sounds like he is ready to follow through. Of course, there are lots of external pressures, including pushback from consumers who, frankly, just don't know how they're going to be able to afford all these extra costs.
Now, Weijia, I also want to ask about Iran. Yesterday, President Trump revealed that there's going to be direct talks with Iran. What can you tell us about that?
Well, he says that they are going to be at the, quote, almost highest level. So we don't know exactly who's going to be at the table. But the fact that direct talks between the U.S. and Iran are happening at all is very significant. During Trump's first term, he pulled out of an agreement that was brokered with several other countries known as the JCPOA to curb Iran's nuclear ambitions. And now he wants a new deal. You can see on your screen that Iran's foreign minister said that there would be, quote, indirect talks in Oman on Saturday. As for those direct talks, we don't have specifics yet about exactly where they will be or who they will involve. But again, this is significant. And President Trump was not mincing any words. You know, he was asked, what happens if there's not a deal? And he said that Iran would be in, quote, great danger, Michael. And so it wasn't exactly a threat, but he has indicated before the possibility of action against Iran that is more than just sanctions.
All right, Weijia Jiang at the White House. Thanks for joining.
A whole hot mess, y'all. A whole hot mess. Please pay attention. Okay. And it's only going to get worse. Now listen, because here's the thing. Trump's trade rep was excoriated, okay, right to his face, okay, over the tariff chaos. And, you know, it's getting real crazy. It's getting real crazy. So let's go to that. Trump trying to get us nukes, says DJ D Major. Well, you know, at the end of the day, I don't know what he's trying to do, but I know what he absolutely is doing. He's going to lead us into World War III. Whether he's purposely trying to do it or not, it's not going to make a difference when those people get ready for war, because Trump's doing the most.
Much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman and colleagues, today's hearing on the president's trade agenda begins with American retirement funds, investors, and our economy in purgatory thanks to Donald Trump's plan to hike tariffs to levels not seen since before the invention of the automobile. Prices are continuing to increase. Markets for made in the USA products are slamming shut around the world. The U.S. economy has gone from the envy of the world to a laughingstock in less time than it took to finish March Madness. Through it all, Donald Trump and his advisors have yet to provide an understandable explanation. Any explanation for what his tax hike on the American people is supposed to accomplish. And so this morning, I'd like to focus on one central question. What is the plan? In the last week, the White House has been all over the map when it comes to this question. There is no clear message of how the tariffs were determined, what they're supposed to accomplish, how long they'll be in place, whether they're a negotiating tool or a move to try and cut the United States off from global trade and usher in a new era of 1870s style protectionism. In the days since Donald Trump announced his tariffs, the president and his advisors have repeatedly changed their stories on all of these questions. Last Thursday, Donald Trump said, quote, "The tariffs give us great power to negotiate," just after Secretary Lutnick and a top economic advisor told reporters the tariffs were not up for negotiation. Then the stories changed again on Sunday when the Secretary of Agriculture and the top White House economic advisor, Kevin Hassett, both said Trump's tariffs were bringing foreign countries to the table, hoping to negotiate new deals to cut tariffs. At nearly the same time, the Treasury Secretary was on TV Sunday saying the tariffs would remain in place for, quote, days and weeks. Asked if the tariffs were up for negotiation, the Commerce Secretary said Sunday, "The tariffs are coming." He announced it, and he wasn't kidding. The tariffs are coming. And yesterday in the Oval Office, Donald Trump said there can be permanent tariffs and there can also be negotiations. So again, this morning, what we want to know is, what is the plan? The stock market is up a bit this morning on yet another round of rumors that Donald Trump might not go through with his full barrage of tariffs. Yet this weekend, Donald Trump retweeted a post on Truth Social arguing that Trump is crashing our economy and markets on purpose as a strategy to lower interest rates. Is it possible that's the plan? Tank the economy so wealthy people can borrow money more cheaply? We know that billionaires like Howard Lutnick and semi-billionaires like Scott Bessent won't mind paying more for groceries or gas. It's a drop in the bucket for them. But for families, higher costs are going to get hurt. higher costs are going to hurt. The nonpartisan Yale Budget Lab predicts the tariffs will cost families $3,800 in the first year alone. In Mr. Greer's confirmation hearing, he argued that economic security leads to strong national security. Our country is getting the opposite with these pointless tariffs. Destroying the foundations of our economy is not only disastrous for workers and families, it makes our people less safe. So you look at Stellantis, the auto company, laying off 900 workers in response to the tariffs. I talked to Pacific Northwest fruit growers who are being told no more American exports, and I hear from small businesses in Oregon that they'll have to pay more for the materials they use to make their products. And I worry that Americans will soon be poorer and face greater threats to our national security thanks to these Trump policies. Is that the plan? Colleagues, I'm going to close with this. The Trump aimless, chaotic tariff spree has proven beyond a doubt that Congress has given far too much of our constitutional power over international trade to the executive branch. It is time to take that power back. On a bipartisan vote, 51 senators sent that signal last week by stepping in and passing legislation to lift Trump's reckless tariffs on Canada. Well, now Donald Trump has slapped tariffs on about 180 countries, and this is a big unforced error that requires a big response. So let me close with this announcement. Today, I am proposing a new bipartisan privileged resolution to end the latest crop of global tariffs that are clobbering American families and small businesses. Members on both sides of the aisle ought to know that this is a call to action, and Congress must step in to rein this president on trade. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Wyden. And
All right, so y'all heard it, honey. Trump is just dragging this country straight to hell, like I told you days ago. And you know, here's the thing. China and the United States are the two most economically powerful countries in the world. All right. And they're going to trade war, or they're in a trade war. Okay, so let's go to this next video. Like and share. Everyone, please, please don't forget to like and share. Thank you in advance. The least you can do for the Queen's hard work.
For centuries, Lady Liberty has welcomed both people and goods into America. But now Donald Trump is fundamentally changing its relationship with the rest of the world, erecting invisible barriers across this and every other port in the form of tariffs.
If there is one city which epitomizes world trade, it is New York. But now the economic drivers which built this skyline are changing faster than at any point in its history.
A new consignment of electronics is arriving at Jimmy Garson's store in Manhattan. Most is from the Far East, and most will soon go up in price.
We're looking at 30 to 40% increases across the board. Most of the vendors, some of them are raising right away. Most of them are planning on a June raise. But what's going to happen is you're going to see a shortage of inventory between now and June because they're not going to be bringing product in.
US companies that have supply chains in Asia face a tough choice: absorb the costs or pass them on. Apple's iPhone 16 Pro made in China could increase from $1,000 to $1,120 if the extra 50% tariffs are brought in tonight. Nike footwear made in Vietnam could now face 60% tariffs. A pair of Air Jordans costing $125 could rise to $140. And 25% tariffs on imported cars and parts means a new Ford Bronco could go from $32,000 to over $40,000.
Oh, hell no.
It's all made in China.
Oh,
for Corinne Purdy's boutique, it means almost every item she sells will be subject to an extra charge.
Since COVID, we've pretty much maintained our pricing. So that's our intention. I guess we'll have to source harder. We'll look into perhaps buying from other countries. I was recently just in India and I found a lot of great product there.
That a lot of Americans are looking at their 401ks today.
In hearings in Washington, the Trump administration's been facing tough questions about their trade policy.
I don't see any strategy at all, and you really haven't said much about what the strategy is this morning.
We're trying to remedy a situation. We're trying to remedy a situation that's persisted for many years. And it would be wonderful if the Chinese agreed with that and wanted to persist in, work with us on that. But that's not where they are.
But in Beijing, there is no sign of compromise.
中国人不惹事。
He said, if the US disregards the interests of both countries and the international community and insists on engaging in a tariff war and trade war, China will fight to the end. Even within Trump's inner circle, there are open disagreements.
Elon's a car manufacturer, but he's not a car manufacturer. He's a car assembler.
Trade Secretary Peter Navarro criticizing Trump ally Elon Musk, who is a tariff skeptic. Musk has hit back, calling Navarro a moron and dumber than a sack of bricks. While they argue stocks have continued to slide, and New York faces up to a new era of protectionism and much higher prices.
All right, so y'all heard that, huh? This is all going bad. This is all going horribly wrong. But hey, don't say I didn't tell you all months ago that it was all coming to this. Okay, Trump's an idiot. He really is. And, to add insult to injury, well, he's fired some more military officials, okay? They fired at least 9 senior military officers. Trump's administration. Let's talk about it. Latest news on Pentagon firing senior officers. What the hell is Trump doing? First of all, he's about to get us into a whole World War III, and then he's firing our top military officials. Now let that sink in. I want y'all to let that sink in. And then he allegedly said that a nuclear war wouldn't be so bad. Okay, that's what they say. They claim that he said. What is he up to? Like, this is all crazy, okay? Kamala was not lying when she talked about how dangerous Trump is. He is absolutely dangerous, honey. A fool like him having the nuclear codes.
In the midst of trying to shrink the federal budget, the Trump administration and the government, rather, the Trump administration is unveiling its $1 trillion Pentagon budget. CBS News is learning at least 9 top military officials have been fired, including another top-ranking woman. Let's bring in CBS News senior national security correspondent Charlie D'Agata, who's joining me live from the Pentagon. Hi, Charlie. So who is this Navy Vice Admiral Shoshana Chatfield, and why was she fired?
Well, she is or was one of the point people to NATO. So that is a sort of 2-for-1 because it also speaks to a sort of U.S. disengagement with NATO. But let me read the exact statement. This comes from Chief Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell. Secretary Hegseth has removed U.S. Navy Vice Admiral Shoshana Chatfield from her position as a U.S. representative to NATO's military committee due to a loss of confidence in her ability to lead. The Defense Department is grateful for her many years of service. That is where the statement ends. However, as you mentioned, this is the 9th individual, either a female or a person of color, who has been removed from one of these senior positions. Most notably, Joint Chiefs of Staff, General C.Q. Brown was removed. The head of the Navy, Chief Naval Officer, Lisa Franchetti, female, obviously, she was removed. In the past, Vice Admiral Shoshana Chatfield has been criticized for statements that she has made that were considered to be woke because they were sort of pro-diversity. So this is a trend, and we expect more, a sort of hit list of individuals who might be considered by Defense Secretary Hegseth, or to a larger degree by President Trump himself, as a sort of DEI hire or DEI promotion.
Now, here's the thing that's so asinine for me. They're talking about DEI hires and DEI promotions. Hegseth needs to shut the hell up because he is clearly incompetent. He was a low-ranking military official. He was a person who would guest appear on Fox News. Okay? He's already been involved in the chat leak thing that happened. And Trump's not holding him or the rest of those people accountable. But he's firing all of these top-ranking military officials. This is absolutely crazy. Okay, like, what the hell is this man doing?
The other news, Charlie, out of the Pentagon is that they are looking to lay off thousands more individuals. What can you tell us about that?
Well, so Secretary Higgs said there'd be between 50 to 60,000 civilian layoffs. And this was announced a few weeks ago, and it had to sort of been brought back a little bit because there are lawsuits involved, and there's also having to do with military readiness. But another kind of surprise announcement that came out of the blue yesterday is at a time of cutbacks, President Trump announced that there would be a budget of $1 trillion here at the Pentagon. And that is a significant rise from the $892 billion that's already in place. So the question might be asked, well, wait a minute, if these cuts are being made to the civilian staff, et cetera, Secretary Hegseth himself said he sort of celebrated the announcement on X, saying he appreciates this gesture from President Trump, and this money, taxpayer money in his words, will be spent on lethality. So there aren't any details as to how that budget is going to be delivered or executed. But I can tell you there are some sort of big ticket items on the way. Most importantly, the Trump administration, and Hegseth to a lesser degree, has said there will be investment in shipbuilding. Obviously, that's a very costly system to be put in place. So there will be some effort there. He also announced the other day a new fighter, the F-47. That is going to be rolled out. That's $1 billion program just in itself. So this is where the money is going to be spent or procured, even at a time when they're trying to cut back.
Wow. All right. Charlie Daggett reporting from the Pentagon for us this morning. Thank you, Charlie.
Yeah, thank you, Charlie, for letting us know what this idiot is up to. Okay, and now with that being said, also Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, held a meeting today, just a few hours ago. It was breaking news. Now, it was like 30 minutes long, but we're just going to listen to like a 3-minute clip, okay, where she talked about Nancy Pelosi can thank President Trump for the 104% retaliatory tariffs in China or on China. And listen, by the way, China said they're going to fight till the very end, okay? I'm telling y'all, they're talking about fighting to the very end, honey. If we get into a war with them, it is going to be the end. Okay, for us, potentially. Please pay attention. They better hope that nobody, all of these countries that Trump is ticking off with these tariffs, we better hope that they don't start attacking us like our power grid, with cyber attacks or any of that stuff, because I'm telling you, these people are livid. And these are countries that we previously, had good relationships with. But now that's all ruined thanks to Trump.
Two questions on trade. First, as a part of these negotiations, is it possible for countries to lower their tariffs below that 10% bare minimum that's been set?
Again, I'll leave that to the president to make those determinations, but I can tell you that 10% universal baseline will go into effect as these negotiations are ongoing.
Got it. And then what is your thinking just as far as low labor cost countries? Like if you've got a country like Vietnam that wants to negotiate, but obviously they have some advantages in terms of trade, in terms of the people there are not paid as much as American citizens. What is kind of the thinking? Can they still achieve a good kind of trade outcome with the United States?
Well, again, you're right to point out that different countries have different labor markets. They have different skills, if you will, different resources, and the president is going to take all of that into account. His team will take all of that into account when they're negotiating these deals. I do just want to point out one thing, that the president, everybody in Washington, whether they want to admit it or not, knows that this president is right when it comes to tariffs and when it comes to trade. In fact, Democrats have long said that the United States of America has been ripped off by the countries around the world. They just don't want to admit it now because it's President Trump who is saying that. In June of 1996, Nancy Pelosi spoke on the House floor. She urged her colleagues at the time to fight against the status quo trade policies that had contributed to America's trade deficit with China. In fact, Nancy Pelosi said, how far does China have to go? How much more repression? How big a trade deficit? How many jobs have to be lost for the American workers? How much dangerous proliferation has to exist before members of this House of Representatives will say, I will not endorse the status quo? Those are the words of Nancy Pelosi in 1996. Well, President Trump is finally answering her call 27 years later. Nancy Pelosi can thank President Trump today for the 104% retaliatory tariff that will be going into effect on China. In 2007, Chuck Schumer spoke of our nation's crippling trade deficit, saying these are the kinds of records the American people don't want us to be breaking. The administration needs to move beyond words, take action now to reverse a trend that threatens our prospects for future economic growth. And Chuck Schumer said that in 2007. Finally, in 2025, President Trump is taking action. Recently defeated Democrat Sherrod Brown said on deficits in 2012 that our deficit then at China had reached an all-time high, and it was on pace to recede last year's record. The trade deficit had cost American workers millions of jobs at the time. These are the words of Democrats years ago. It is about time America finally has a president who is taking action to restore those millions of jobs back to the United States of America, to boost our manufacturing industry. He's doing what's right for the American people. It will take a lot of labor. It will take a lot of effort. That's exactly what the American people elected this president to do. He will be talking about our energy agenda at 3 o'clock today over in the East Room. As you all know, he will be signing a bill to unleash the might of our beautiful, clean coal industry in this country, which is a reliable energy source also for AI. There's a great story in Bloomberg today, actually, about the executive order that will be signed later. So we'll see you all there.
Lady, please sit down somewhere. Okay, please sit down somewhere. Now, Nancy Pelosi may have said that in the 90s, but surely there was a reason why they didn't go through with it. And, 3 days or so ago, they brought up a flashback of Obama. They brought up a flashback of Obama talking about tariffs, okay, and saying that he basically said the same thing as Trump. So let's go to that clip. Okay, likes up, everyone, please like and share.
It's funny, you know who used to agree with Trump on tariffs? Biden's old boss.
We had a tire case in which they were flooding us with cheap domestic tires or cheap Chinese tires. And we put a stop to it. And as a consequence, saved jobs throughout America. I have to say that Governor Romney criticized me for being too tough in that tire case. Said this wouldn't be good for American workers and that it would be protectionist. But I tell you, those workers don't feel that way. They feel as if they had finally an administration who was going to take this issue seriously.
Okay, well, that might be all fine and dandy. But at the end of the day, Terry Hinton says these tariffs was never this high, though. Exactly. Okay, and they weren't just acting crazy like Trump, acting like a whole psychopath. Okay, talking about 200% tariffs. Remember that day he was threatening that? Just saying the craziest things. Okay, they can sit there and try to compare, but Obama makes sense. All right. And as you can see, it turned out favorably for the U.S. What Trump is doing is not. Okay. It is not the same. All right. They're doing everything they can, the Republicans, that is, and Fox News. They're trying to do everything they can to make it look like Trump's not destroying this country, that he's not just really disrupting the entire world. Okay. Because that's what he's doing. Now, JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon says that Trump's tariffs will boost inflation, slow an already weakening U.S. economy. Absolutely. So let's get into it. I'm going to share my screen. Then after this, we're out of here. But I want to remind you guys that if you didn't see the broadcast from this morning, if you missed the broadcast from this morning about the new evidence the feds have on Diddy, please go back and watch, okay? And also, just a reminder, sometimes, beloveds, you have to just come to the channel and check because you may not get the notifications. And also, when you do more than one live a day, they definitely don't always send out notifications for each live. Okay, I remember they told us that when I was on Dr. Boyce's channel, because there was many of us going live daily, and they only send out notifications a couple of times, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so make sure you're just checking the channel to keep up with the latest updates so you don't miss anything. Now let's go to this clip.
His annual shareholder letter. I want to get straight over to Leslie Picker, who's been going through that letter. Of course, is something that the investment community looks at virtually every year, so very, very carefully. This year, perhaps even more important.
Yeah, and good timing this year, of course, as everyone wants to hear his perspective. He's writing in his 58-page annual letter that the economy is facing, quote, considerable turbulence. He's saying that the short-term effects from tariffs is likely to have inflationary outcomes and, quote, whether or not the menu of tariffs causes a recession remains in question, but it will slow down growth. He reminds readers that stagflation in the 1970s didn't stop the trend of rising rates, noting that even though interest rates have come down recently, this trend could still reverse. Diamond says even with the recent declines, equity valuations are still well above their historical averages. Still on trade, Diamond says, quote, where the United States is treated unfairly, we should demand those agreements be fixed. He says America first is fine, as long as it doesn't end up being America alone. Much of the letter really entails policy recommendations on everything from tax and fiscal policies to education and healthcare reforms to building more housing and infrastructure. And he also lists issues that he thinks is causing, quote, legitimate frustration and anger in the country today, including, quote, uncontrolled immigration, income and education inequality, culture wars, bureaucracy, and polarization that's amplified by media and social media. And he said that by enacting policy reforms to resolve these issues, GDP would grow by over 3% a year, guys.
Wow. You know, I get the sense that Jamie traditionally works on that letter a pretty long time in advance, but Leslie, it sounds like he was updating it up to the last minute this year.
Some of it sounded like before the mess that we're in right now.
Some of the other issues, I'm sure that's the long-term stuff he was working on.
Yeah.
My guess is he spends months on this,
Right.
but he must have been working on it
thoughtful,
right up to Saturday. Right.
Pretty thoughtful. I mean, to say that there are inequities and they need to be dealt with. I don't know if you need to go shock and awe. I don't know why an incremental sort of a
approach,
stepwise fashion might. He just doesn't. He doesn't know that
patience.
Homie, don't play that. Yeah. Right.
Leslie, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So everybody, just keep your fingers crossed and make sure you're following your lifelines. Okay. Make sure you're following your lifelines, stocking up on your non-perishable food items, your water, solar powered generators if you don't have a regular one, and all of that. Make sure that you're doing all the things that I've been telling you since Thanksgiving Day of 2020, okay? Because it's about to get real ugly. Panther Strike says Trump was bargaining on these countries getting on their knees begging for relief. Not happening. Oh yeah, of course. He did not know they were going to be so resistant. He did not know that they would stand firm and say that they're going to fight to the end, because Canada said it and China has said it. They're going to fight to the finish. Okay, so this is clearly not what he bargained for. He thought he was going to strong arm them, but they're not allowing it to happen. So they're fighting back. Okay, so these retaliatory tariffs are just going to be a big problem as well. So with that all being said, honey, everybody buckle up, because it's about to be a bumpy ride, like I keep telling y'all. Okay, like I keep telling you all. So with that all been said, don't forget, like I told you guys, to make sure, double check, make sure you're still subscribed to the channel, especially if you have not been receiving your notifications. And I will see you all in the morning with the rest of the Diddy news. Like I said, for those of you who missed the previous broadcast about the new evidence on Diddy, please go back and catch that video. And also, I did an update on the Big U situation, and just talking about Adam 22 from No Jumper. I keep wanting to call him Adam 12 because I think he's the feds. Okay. But anyway, with that all being said, check those videos out, and I love you all to life, and I will talk to you all again soon. But in the meantime, each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Also, if you follow the spiritual channel, I did post do a live on there today, so don't miss that. And we'll be back on the spiritual channel again tomorrow. All right, so I will talk to you all again soon. Peace.
Hit him with that flavor. All in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunta. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparation. reparations. America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why